Every human being who has ever lived has one thing in common. They all died. Every single one. The greatest kings, the wisest philosophers, the most devoted saints. No matter how much they prayed, no matter how close to God they were, they all died. Except two. And I want to be clear, I am not talking about a metaphor. I'm not talking about spiritual immortality or living on in people's memories. I'm talking about two actual physical, historical human beings who walked this earth, breathed this air, had families, faced their own fears and failures, and then simply never died. In the middle of Genesis chapter 5, one of the most ancient genealogies in recorded history, there is a pattern, and it is brutal in its repetition. Adam lived 930 years, and he died. Seth lived 912 years, and he died. Enosh lived 905 years, and he died. Methuselah lived 969 years, and he died. Death, death, death. One after another. It does not matter how long they lived, hundreds of years, some of them. It always ends the same way. And then you get to one name, and the pattern just breaks. Enoch. Genesis 5:22-24 says this, and I want you to notice what it does not say. Enoch walked with God after he fathered Methuselah 300 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Enoch were 365 years. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Think about what that would have looked like to the people around him. You are living in the ancient world. You know Enoch. Maybe he is your neighbor. Maybe he is your uncle. And one day, he's just gone. No body, no grave, no explanation. Just gone. What was it about this man that made God intervene in the laws of nature itself? The text gives us one clue, repeated twice, which in biblical writing is significant. It is how the author underlines something important. Enoch walked with God. Not Enoch believed in God. Not Enoch went to the temple. Not even Enoch prayed to God. He walked with God. The Hebrew word here implies a continuous, intimate, daily movement, a relationship that was never switched off. He lived 365 years. Every single day of those 365 years, he walked with God. In a world that was growing darker and more corrupt by the generation, the same world that would eventually bring the great flood, Enoch kept walking. And the New Testament confirms something extraordinary about this. In Hebrews chapter 11, the great hall of faith, Enoch is listed among the heroes, and here is what it says.
By faith, Enoch was taken up so that he should not see death, and he was not found because God had taken him. Now before he was taken, he was commended as having pleased God. Hebrews 11:5. He was commended as having pleased God. Heaven reviewed this man's life, and the verdict, the official verdict from God himself, was simply pleased. 2 words. That is the most important review any human being can receive. But Hebrews does not stop there. It immediately follows with this, and this is crucial. Without faith, it is impossible to please him, for whoever would draw near to God must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who seek him. Hebrews 11:6. God rewards those who seek him. We do not know the exact reason God took Enoch to heaven without dying. The Bible does not give us that specific answer, and I think that silence is intentional. But we know that Enoch sought God earnestly, continuously, devotedly, and God rewarded him in a way no other human being had ever been rewarded before. Now, I want to pause here, because I know some of you are thinking, okay, but that is a very old story. That is mythology. That is pre-scientific thinking. And I respect that. I genuinely understand why the modern mind pushes back on this. But here's what I would ask you to consider. This text exists. It has existed for thousands of years. Cultures that had zero contact with each other across different continents, different centuries, have all grappled with the same fundamental question. Is there a way out of death? And if so, what does it require? Enoch's story does not ask you to switch off your brain. It asks you something far more interesting. What would a life look like if it was so fully surrendered to God that even death had no claim on it? That is not mythology. That is a challenge, and it has been sitting in those pages for over 3,000 years. Now, let us talk about the second man, because his departure from this world looked Enoch's quiet. Centuries after Enoch, a prophet stands on the banks of the Jordan River. His name is Elijah. And unlike Enoch, we know a great deal about this man. We know he called down fire from heaven. We know he shut the sky for 3.5 years. No rain fell. And then he prayed again, and the rain came back. We know he stood alone against 450 false prophets on Mount Carmel and did not flinch. We also know that this same man, this force of nature, once sat under a tree in the wilderness and asked God to take his life. "It is enough, Lord. Take away my life." He was exhausted, hunted, alone. He had given everything he had and felt like it was not enough. Sound familiar? Maybe more familiar than we would like to admit. But God did not let him quit, and God did not let him die. Not then. And, as it turned out, not ever. On the last day of Elijah's time on earth, he and his successor Elisha walked together. The other prophets already knew what was coming. They kept pulling Elisha aside and asking him, "Do you know that God is going to take your master today?" He knew, and yet he kept walking with Elijah, refusing to leave his side.
And then it happened. And as they still went on and talked, behold, chariots of fire and horses of fire separated the two of them, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen." And he saw him no more. Chariots of fire, horses of fire, a whirlwind that split the sky. Elisha watched his mentor, the man he called his father, rise into the air and disappear. And all he could do was cry out. And then, silence. No explanation, no reason given, just God came for Elijah. And here is something that most people do not know. The story of Elijah does not end there. Malachi, one of the last prophetic books of the Old Testament, makes a stunning prediction about this man who never died. God says through the prophet, "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the great and awesome day of the Lord comes. And he will turn the hearts of fathers to their children, and the hearts of children to their fathers." Elijah will be sent back before the great and awesome day of the Lord. The New Testament picks this up as well. The angel announcing the birth of John the Baptist says he will go before the Lord in the spirit and power of Elijah. Luke chapter 1 verse 17 uses almost the exact same language as Malachi's prophecy. Jesus himself acknowledged that John the Baptist fulfilled the spirit of that promise. But many serious scholars across centuries believe the full, literal fulfillment of Malachi's prophecy is still coming. And this is where the story takes a turn that I guarantee you did not see coming. What if Enoch and Elijah are not finished? What if they are literally alive right now, waiting to return? This is not speculation I invented. This is a serious theological position held by scholars and church fathers going back almost 2,000 years. Turn to Revelation chapter 11. In the final days, the book of Revelation describes two witnesses, two men with supernatural power who prophesied during the last chapter of human history. Look carefully at what these witnesses do. They call down fire that consumes their enemies. They have the power to shut the sky so that no rain falls. They turn water into blood. They have power over every plague. Does that sound like anyone we have already met in this video? The text goes further. It says these two witnesses are eventually killed. Their bodies lie in the street, and then, after 3.5 days, they are raised back to life and taken up to heaven in a cloud while their enemies watch. 2 men taken to heaven without dying, sent back, killed for the very first time at the end of history, then resurrected. Church fathers, including Irenaeus and Tertullian, writing nearly 2,000 years ago, believe these 2 witnesses are Enoch and Elijah, the only 2 people in all of recorded history who never experienced death, held in reserve, perhaps, for the moment when history needs them most. Think about what that means. God did not take them because they were finished. God took them because they were not finished yet. Their departure from earth was not an ending. It was a pause. Now, the Bible does not name the witnesses in Revelation 11. Reasonable people disagree on this interpretation, but the parallel is so precise, so deliberate, that it demands serious engagement from anyone who reads it carefully. Now, here is the part that most people rush past, and it is the most important part of everything we have talked about today. It is easy to hear about Enoch and Elijah and put them in a category labeled extraordinary people from another time, and then close the Bible and go back to your life thinking, that is fascinating, but what does it have to do with me? Everything. The Bible does not tell these stories as curiosities. It tells them as invitations, as evidence of what a human life can look like when it is fully, genuinely, uncompromisingly oriented toward God. Enoch did not live in a perfect world. He lived in the era just before the flood, a time of growing wickedness, corruption, and violence. The world around him was going in one direction, and he went in another. Elijah did not have an easy life. He was hunted by a wicked queen. He experienced what sounds remarkably like deep depression. He wanted to quit, and God met him in the wilderness, in his exhaustion, in his despair, and gave him exactly what he needed to keep going. God does not require you to have a perfect life before you walk with him. He meets you exactly where you are. The prophet Micah captured the simplest possible summary of what God actually requires. And it is not extraordinary. It is not superhuman. Listen to this. He has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God. Walk humbly with your God. That is it. That is the entire call. Not be perfect, not have all the answers, not never struggle or doubt or fail. Just walk. Keep walking. Walk humbly. Walk honestly. Walk in the direction of God, one day at a time. The New Testament echoes this everywhere. In John chapter 15, Jesus says, "Abide in me." Stay connected. Stay close. In Galatians 5:16, Paul says, "Walk in the Spirit." The language of walking with God runs through the entire Bible like a thread, from the very first pages to the very last. Enoch walked. Elijah walked. And the God who honored their walk is the same God who is available to you right now, today. I want to ask you something, and I want you to actually sit with it. Do not just move past it. Hebrews 11 tells us that Enoch was commended as having pleased God, that before God took him, heaven looked at his life and said, "Pleased." God reviews lives. He sees everything, not just the public moments, not just the visible acts of service, not just the prayers said in church. He sees the private thoughts, the quiet choices, the way you treat people when no one is watching, the way you respond when life is hard and God feels distant. When God reviews your life, what does he see? Not to condemn you, not to make you feel worthless, but because the answer to that question is the most important thing you could possibly know about yourself. Enoch pleased God so completely that God refused to let him die. Not because Enoch was perfect, the Bible never claims that, but because he walked, continuously, faithfully, in the direction of God, day after day after day for 365 years. You may never be taken to heaven in a whirlwind. I probably will not be either. But the same God who walked with Enoch, who answered Elijah with fire from heaven, who turned the laws of nature upside down for two men who sought him earnestly, that God is listening right now. Sometimes God does not explain everything he does. He did not explain exactly why he took Enoch. He did not tell us precisely why Elijah went up in fire while others died in beds. He left those questions open, and I believe he left them open on purpose, because the absence of an explanation is itself an invitation to trust, to believe that the God who acts in ways we do not fully understand is still good, still faithful, still paying attention, still, as Hebrews 11:6 promises, the God who rewards those who seek him. We do not need to know everything about why God did what he did for Enoch and Elijah. We know what matters. We know their character. We know their walk. We know that God saw something in them that he called worthy of the most extraordinary exit from this world ever recorded. And we know that the same God who honored their walk is still walking with his people today. Enoch pleased God so much that God refused to let him die. The question that should stay with you tonight: when God looks at your life, what does he see? If this video stirred something in you, if it made you think, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Every week we go deeper into the secrets hidden in Scripture that most people never slow down long enough to find. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.